So as I've shared earlier, I am a hunter and I'm a gun owner, and I'm also a United Methodist pastor. And after the Uvalde massacre, I became involved with Texas Impact, and I am part of their gun safety team because I deeply believe that people of faith must engage on policies around gun safety. I shared with you earlier that one of the pastors on my staff ran a shelter for women and their kids who had escaped domestic violence. I did not tell you that she then hired my wife, and my wife has worked for domestic violence shelter for the last 8 years. And so this is dinner table conversation for me. And I have learned, unfortunately, that people who have committed domestic violence, whether against a spouse or against a significant other, they don't just leave that person alone. They often return. The shelter where my wife works has an undisclosed location because the perpetrators of violence return, and they try to seek them down, often years later. And that's why this bill is needed. As a pastor, people are willing to open up to me, and as I've become connected with a shelter for moms and kids who have escaped domestic violence, I've heard their stories. And one of the stories I think resonates with what I've been hearing here. One woman went to this shelter after her own husband used her as a punching bag, and so she and her children left. After I met her, about a year after I met her, she brought me a newspaper article. And it was the story of a man who had killed his girlfriend and then himself. And she told me that was her ex-husband. And she would have been dead if she had not left. But because he was still allowed to have firearms after using his wife as a punching bag, he had a gun and killed his girlfriend. I wish that I could tell you that our society was not this violent. I wish I could tell you that we could all love each other and get along. But I know that I'd be lying to you. In my Christian faith, we say there's something called a sin. And there is sin. And there are people who are violent. In my understanding, this bill simply expands the definition of family violence so that people who are violent against their intimate partners, even if they are not married, they still cannot access a weapon to commit murder. And so I encourage you to support this bill. Thank you.